I have two questions here. My first question is on the third sutta, the most beautiful girl in the land. This question arises when we have our discussion about sense restraint. You see, there is sense restraint, but then there is also a fear factor here, which is the man with the sword. So the mindfulness to the body, is it because of sense restraint, or is it because there is this fear factor where the man is so afraid that his head might be cut off if he didn't focus on the oil brim? That's my first question.
It's because he's fearful.
That's
why he has to be mindful.
Is it more on that rather than restraint of senses? It's like, I'm so afraid that I will die. I must do what is necessary. It's kind of like more on the fear factor rather than on the restraint factor.
Oh, you're talking about kāyagatāsati is more connected with fear than with restraint, is it, for this sutta?
I mean, my own understanding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I would think that fear is a motivating factor.
It can be.
It is a primary motivating factor, but then it leads also to sense restraint and kāyagatāsati.
So it can goes together.
Yeah. I mean,
in real practice, does it happen that way? Like you restrain and at the same time you have that fear?
Sure. For example, I'll give you a very good example. We conduct hiking retreats. We go stream hiking along the stream. So we are actually jumping from rock to rock. So you have to be careful when you place your foot on a rock because you might fall. And when you fall into the water, you don't know how deep the water is and you don't know what's inside the water and you hurt yourself. So there is fear. Fear is there because you don't want to fall. Alright, so you have to be very, very mindful. Make sure that you step on a rock that is not slippery, that is not loose. So fear is a motivating factor for you to be mindful. Get it?
So it's okay to be fearful, to have fear.
You see, the mind works so quickly.
Yeah.
Fear comes and then it's gone. Because if you are trying to step on the stone and you still fear, that will interfere with your mindfulness and you might fall. Because you're not fully mindful on what you're doing. Right? So, fear is the preliminary motivating factor. After that is followed by mindfulness.
Okay, second question.
Right.
Also on the same sutta, the third one, it mentioned that the bowl of oil filled to the brim, this is a designation for mindfulness directed to the body. But the Buddha didn't mention which part of the body that we need to be mindful.
That's why I said at the moment, don't worry about what kāyagatāsati means. Right? We just want to see, is there a relation? Is there a link between kāyagatāsati and sense restraint? That's all.
So is it there is a certain part of the body that we can...
No, we don't want to talk about this yet. It's going to be next section.
Oh, okay. That's all. Thank you.
With regards to the question that the sister posed just now, instead of interpreting it to be of fear factor, is it all right for me to view it as is an understanding of the danger indulged in lust or sensual pleasure? Because this sutta is preached to the monk and not the lay person. All right, so...
Which one?
The bowl of oil.
Okay.
So the ladies who's singing and dancing resembles sensual pleasures or lust. So the monk knows that it is very danger for such indulgence. So he properly pay his attention, which is the yoniso manasikara, to the bowl of oil. That is the mindfulness.
But he's not talking about the monk carrying the bowl. He's talking about man carrying the bowl.
So okay. It's just like a man carry the bowl.
Right.
Means that this person actually exercise skillful attention to the mindfulness of the body.
Okay. Right. I know. But in that particular example, in that simile, it is a fear factor. But if it's applied to a monk, it's different. It could also be fear of getting lost in lust, being overwhelmed by lust, and not being able to control oneself.
Oh, okay. So it can be either understanding or it's fear. Depends on the person's mentality level.
Right. You know, the understanding also comes from fear probably, because you understood in the past that when you indulged in lustful desire, then you got in trouble. Yeah, you couldn't observe your precepts pretty well, or you experienced a lot of burning within yourself, and that is a form of suffering. So you recall that past experience, and then you are fearful that it might occur again, so you specially paying more attention and being more mindful for it not to reoccur.
Yes, I think, let's say for beginner, but if for long practitioner, so perhaps it becomes an understanding. He sees the danger in the indulgence, and he sees the escape. The escape is by being
controlling desire.
Yes, skillfully attentive to the mindfulness.
Yeah, okay. Yes.